Today on American Outlaw, the URGI, the Army Ranger URGI. Guys, look, I've spent a lot of time with Army Rangers here lately with my real job. Yes, you know YouTube isn't my real job. How do they set up their rifles? How does a current 2025, I know I'm not supposed to date these videos, how does a 2025 gunfighter who does it every day for a living set up their rifle? Let's take a look. Transcend. Something you guys don't know about me. I have had 17 surgeries, 5 on my right knee, 1 on my shoulder, and 2 on my right foot. So it took me almost 2 years to rebuild the right side of my body up equal with the left side after 3 years of back-to-back-to-back surgeries and trying to heal from them. So, yes, I know you guys blast me, the whole meal team said whatever, but we're gonna go through this year, we're gonna dedicate this year to the Transcend program with their peptides and their testosterone that literally goes and finds the places in your body that have pain, inflammation, and it talks your body into all naturally re-healing itself. So, thank you to Transcend. Go to the bottom if you guys already just wanna start researching about it. Let's go on this journey this year together. I think it's gonna be epic. Very first one, of course, is the Geissele Almost Clone. You guys know that I'm a cloner. Like, I dig making the clones. Really, the only difference when they say almost clone is only that they use a Colt upper, and this is a Geissele upper receiver. I'm not sure if you're supposed to know this, but I'm going to tell you anyway. The Army tested all bolt carrier groups and said there is no better bolt carrier group than Geissele. Not one. There's none better. So we have a Geissele bolt carrier group. We have a Geissele charging handle. The Geissele barrel, which I think we're going to be a little bit more surprised one way or another than you think. Then it has their Geissele's famous rail. It does move just a little in the barrel. And the last thing is the flash hider, the Surefire 4-prong flash hider. A lot of people don't like it because, can you hear that ring? Yeah, you can hear it, Damien?
Yeah.
So it really twangs, it twangs. So that's the first thing you need to complete your kit. Second thing you need, which is really important, it comes with it, but it is the Geissele H3 buffer tube. The buffer tubes are made to work with the platform and the gas and the suppressor and everything all together to make it recoil perfectly and literally the gun work perfectly. So most of your guns probably have an H1 or H2 in them. Go ahead and put this H3 in. I think Geissele makes an excellent one. The next thing that we need, of course, is your Surefire suppressor. And this is the Surefire RC2. This one's kind of cool if you're a cloner. It does have the NSN number on it. So for cloner guys, they usually pay just a little bit more money for them, and I think that they're kind of cool. Next thing we need, these Night Eyes S-Beaners. They're the Micro-Lock Night Eyes S-Beaners. Guys, I'll link all this stuff inside my Amazon account. Then you need this HRF Concepts. It's the RMC-E for the M4, the Magwell. This is old school, I know it is, but the Magpul Bad Lever. Dudes, I can't even tell you how old this thing is. I've had it for a while because I just never used them. Moving down the list, you're gonna need Ranger bands. Guys, I know some of you just coming up in this world and you're getting into being a gun guy or a gun gal, and I'm glad. Ranger bands are just, they're cheap. It doesn't matter what brand. Just go on Amazon. I'll link some. Just some Ranger bands. Nothing special. The Bravo Company Mod 3 vertical grip. This is my favorite vertical grip. Make sure it goes on the M-LOK rail. M-LOK is here, so we want it on the M-LOK, okay? Zip ties. You're going to need some zip ties. You're going to need 3 kinds of tape. One of them is this Camo Form Gear Aid. One of them is athletic white tape. One of them is athletic black tape. Do you need all of this? No. No, I'm just literally copying one of their rifles because I think it's cool. I got to shoot it quite a bit. My kids got to shoot it. It was fun. All right, the Magpul MOE K2 grip. You're going to need a Sharpie oil-based blue paint. They use the Surefire Scout Vamp, and that's pretty much what all my lights are. The reason why is because it does white hot, and it does IR, and it depends on what your mission set is. I really like it. The next piece of stuff is just your regular old OD paracord. It doesn't matter where you get it. Then we have the sling. This is a Faro Concepts. What the heck is this thing called? The Slingster, which is actually pretty cool because this has been one of my favorite slings for a long time. No sling is wrong. None is wrong. All right, the blue Loctite. Get your blue Loctite. You need a Colt. It says property of U.S. government M4 carbine. You can buy these right now, the military collector's edition, and if you're going to go crazy, but any lower works. Another thing that you need is the in-gall. You got to have an in-gall. They're going on the streets now for a little cheaper. They were going for $6 grand. They're going for $5,500 now. So you need the in-gall. It's really important. And with all of this, we're going to spend the time. I want you to think about this. You are likely a gun guy. You're likely a Mark 18 fan. You probably are as much of a gun fan as I am, where you have multiple different rifles. You got to think about an Army Ranger. They don't look at this as like a hobby. This is work, and their life depends on it, and their buddy's life depends on it. So the level of detail in setting this rifle up is probably a lot more than you've ever thought of. Let's put it together. There we go. Perfect. Once you know that that safety works how you want, you're good. Fills out the grip really nice. Gives me that pushing ability. All right, there we go. We got the Geisley H3. Now this is the 11.5 URGI. Okay, one of the things I like to do whenever I'm setting up my rifles is I want to know with the ammos that I will use, not necessarily one ammo, but all of the ammo that I will be using or could possibly use in the future, what kind of group is it going to shoot and why? Let's just remember that the U.S. Army says it needs to be a 4 MOA. The Navy, SEAL Team 6, they require 3 MOA. So a group like this is acceptable from them, 3 inches away from outside to inside. I personally like 1.5 to 2 inches, but I'm a precision guy. Very few AR-15s shoot these tiny little bug holes. You know, I hear a lot of people, they're like, man, my gun shoots quarter-minute groups. Dude, quarter-minute groups look like one little bitty hole, 5 shots. Half-minute groups look like every single bullet's almost in one hole, and then it starts spreading out. So I like 1.5 inches, but understanding that this is a U.S. military gun, so I want to know what it's going to do out there, and the reason why is because let's say this is a 4-inch gun. 4 inches at 100 is this big. At 200 is this big. At 300 is about the effectiveness of the gun, right? So let's go over the ammo that we're going to be using right now. One of them is the famous 77 grain Sierra Match King. It is an exceptional bullet. It is the gold standard when it comes to fighting rounds in the U.S. military. The second one is the ones that the Army Rangers will be using, and that is A1. I have a little bit of it. You can find it on the secondary market. Go look around. You can see it. It's out there. The other two are honorable mentions just for you guys. One of them is just 55 grain range ammo that you guys are going to buy because you need to know what it's going to do. And then the other one is 62 grain SS109. So let's group these things, see what they do on the chronograph, see what they do on paper, and we'll check it out. I'm continuously keeping my suppressor on the gun because it changes the speed and the accuracy. Sometimes it's always faster, but sometimes it's more accurate, sometimes it's a little less, but we are going to fight with that in the event that we needed to fight, so I'm leaving it on. I have this bazooka of a loopholed scope on here. That is only for my grouping. It's not staying, so these are the first shots out of the gun. Let's see what she'll do. SS109, 62 grain. All right, there's 5 shots out of it. The velocity on these 5 shots, 2661. Average spread is 32. Standard deviation is 13.7. Subsonic at 774. So this ammo's not bad. It probably didn't group as well as what you guys are going to think. This is the actual A1. This is contract round, what you're going to shoot out of this gun. And it goes a lot hotter. All right, that was 5 rounds out of that, and that's 2703. It is going to go subsonic at 761, ballistic coefficient of G1. I use G7, but the standard deviation is 23.5, which is what you would expect out of military ammo. So honestly, not that good. Black Hills, 77 grain. It's the way. It's combat proven effective over 20 years of combat, so it's my favorite. It's running 2442, which that makes sense. It goes subsonic at 800 yards. Notice it's going slower by 300 feet per second, but it stays transonic longer. Standard deviation of 11. Guys, that's pretty freaking good. We only have 55 grain. That's all Americans have. They don't shoot this stuff. They shoot better ammo. So, but this is what you have. I understand it's expensive, so let's just see how it's gonna group as well. The speed on this is 2707. It goes subsonic at 589, so it goes subsonic 200 yards sooner than the 77 grain. The standard deviation is 2300 and the high is 27. We know that it needs to be somewhere around 3000 for this to be an effective round, so I consider it an effective practice round, but not an effective round. But in the event that you are in a gunfight, the first rule of a gunfight is bring a gun to the gunfight. The second rule is whatever ammo you have, I don't care. Like, if you only have 55, shoot them with 55. Don't be like, oh, Outlaw said I don't have 77, so I can't shoot this guy. That's stupid. Just shoot him. All right, guys, here's the target. You're gonna have to stick around, and we'll show you in a minute. Let's get our optic on here. The optic that they use is the Aimpoint T2. Now, full disclosure, Aimpoint sent me this T2. Aimpoint, thank you. They flew me out to Sweden. Happy 50th anniversary, Aimpoint. They're some of the best people that I know. Super hospitable. The factory is incredible. Aimpoint, thank you. You guys are iconic. The Army's using the Unity Riser. Guys, I don't know anybody right now that actually probably isn't using the Unity Riser. Now, one of the things that I think you'll find a bit different, they put their lasers back, and we're not going to talk about it now. You need to stick around because we're going to go over the laser here in just a little bit on nod so you can actually see what it looks like. Okay, so just so you guys know, the way they have their setup, both those rifles that I have pictures of right here and right here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 is what I could see. And then the laser is set on the 6th one. They're running their laser right here, just like this. You need paracord for a couple of reasons. One, if you lose a piece of it, it's probably going to cost you or your buddy a life. So they do come off. They do come off pretty easy. You want to make sure that you've got everything Loctited, and then you tie everything down. Now, you can use zip ties, you can use tape, you can use paracord. We're going to use a combination of all. So what we're going to do is take your paracord, okay, and then take your strings out of the middle. We're going to go after this picture right here. Okay guys, so just so you guys kind of know, Damien and I, to strap this thing down, just spent probably 15 minutes. 15 minutes. Yeah, 15 minutes just getting this strapped down. But no matter what we do, if the screws come loose on this, it's not going anywhere. Now let me show you. One of the things we want to do is take our Sharpie pen. This gives us our ability to see if our screws have moved. If for some reason they are off, then we'll know, hey, our screws have backed out. Take your little paint pen and give it, I like to do it on both sides. When I just look at my gun, I'm like, first thing, I'm good. In sticking with our photocopies, the one thing that we'll notice right here is they got a Ranger band. So we're gonna take our Ranger band, pull it all the way up to where the sling goes in. We're gonna go right there. We're going to grab our end galls. I had to take it off to get the rest of it on. Kind of a pain in the neck. I did get some information. I don't know how the end galls will hold up, but I did get some information that you can put them over your gas block and you might burn up some electronics putting them over your gas block. I can't confirm that. I heard it from a rep. Here we go with another little piece where we're going to tie our end gall down. So I put the end gall on like an idiot, and now I got to take it back off. first off, let's go with this Ferro Concept sling right here just real fast. I'm not going to adjust it, but I need to put this in here to make sure that I'm not having any issues. There we go. Play right there. See how tight I can get this thing? I'm a professional. Grab us some Navy SEAL camo here. Here is pretty much as close to a setup as I've been able to do with them right now. So you have your NSN number, Surefire RC2. Surefire Vamp, I really like the Scout Vamp. The Ingall, I set this up really close to the way that they set it up, the best I could tell from the photos that I took. We've tied everything down, we've strapped it down properly, we've torqued everything down. We've got the bad lever, the HRF, we've got the tape. You know, as you start shooting, you start taping things up to fit your hand. I have not cut my BCM grip yet because I want to show you guys how they set it up, and then I'm going to come back and set it up how I like it. This is exactly how they set it up. We're going to go look at it right now, and we're going to shoot a little bit. We're going to zero it, and then as we go, we'll change some things for the way that I like it, but still similar to them to have a great combat rifle. All right, guys, the URGI. You know, we went over the build, but I've set it up exactly like the current Army Rangers right now, or at least the ones I worked with set their gun up. Of course, everybody sets their gun up differently. I've told you many times, do not follow just one person. Set your gun up for you. So a couple of things that are completely different than the way I do it are one, this HRF magwell. So I'm gonna test and I wanna see how well the magwell works for me. Two, I didn't cut the BCM grip down just yet because I want to see where it fits, because at the end of this, I'm going to set this up where it works for me the best. I don't use a bad lever. Bad lever was like very 2012 for me. I guess so is the HRF. So we've tied down the optics, we've tied down the light, we've tied down everything just like the Rangers would tie it down, like the Marines would tie it down, like the Army ties it down. And so let's get out there, let's shoot this thing, and feel what I like and what I don't like versus what other people are doing. Guys, one thing I actually found that I am liking a lot about this is the magwell. I'll be honest with you, I thought super 2012, and why would you have this polymer HRF magwell? And I'm a big fan. I really like it. I've been trying some failure drills, some tap rack bang, and then, you know, when you do the whole put your fingers up underneath and everything else on the failure drills. So if you tap rack and it doesn't work, strip your magazine, rack, put your mag in, rack, and that takes care of all other loads. So load number one, I get a bad trigger, tap, rack, bang, okay? Load number two, get a bad trigger, I got a magazine here, get a bad trigger, just go tap, rack, doesn't work, drop this magazine, go 3 times, come back inside, get it in there, those old metal magazines, and it's gonna work. Now, let's just go over that just a little bit differently though with the bad lever. If I was going with the bad lever, and let's just say I tap and I rack, and I'm like, oh crap, I can rip my magazine out, rack, okay? On the third rack, lock it back like this. We're used to, or normally you would rack it back and do this, right? So you can come back, rack it, lock it, then come back, and instead of using your ping pong paddle to drive it home, just use your finger and boom. It works really well. It does take some getting used to. I wouldn't totally get rid of my manual of arms, but it works really well. All right, guys, the grip. I haven't spent a lot of rounds down this just yet. This little bottom portion right here is freaking digging into my hand right here. Digging into my hand. So I'm probably gonna file some of this off, this metal in between this piece. I'm gonna get rid of some of that. I don't mind the medical grip tape. I also like this Magpul MOE for this specific safety because my hand's not getting in the way. I like to hold high on my gun, and even with my stubby thumb, I'm getting a full safety press on it. So it makes it really easy to work my safety. So I like this combination if this is the safety that I'm gonna use. Is it my favorite safety? No. Honestly, the Cobalt safety that they make is, I think it's a 45, maybe a little more than a 45. It's my by far favorite safety, but this one works great. There's no reason to change anything on it. A couple of things that's really important is when you are picking your rifle and you're making it for you, you may not be able to change your suppressor or your upper, but the things you can change for you is your optic height, your stock, your grip, the bad lever. Some people don't want to run a front grip at all, and it's okay if you don't. Where you run your laser, that stuff is 100% up to you. Don't let anybody tell you, and don't copy anybody. Go with what works for you. Don't forget to zero your laser. I think a lot of people have them and they don't really zero them. That's been my experience so far. So you got to zero it in the day and the night. But let's take a look and remember that I'm not necessarily shooting through my gun, my optics when I do this, because I'm looking with my laser. So that's where you want to be, is you want to make sure that it is zeroed on your day, and we're about to do it at night. But then that in your pocket of your shoulder, but you're staring at the target, it's still zeroed. So the way that I did that was I zeroed this at 50 yards. Why did I pick 50 yards? I know I did a zeroing video. It's linked below. I picked 50 yards because I asked the Rangers, what do you guys use? They said 50 yards. So I picked 50 yards for that exact reason. And the laser is zeroed at 50 yards. And all I did was line them both up, and then I confirmed them, and they're great. So now here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna wait for it to get just a little darker, and then we're gonna shoot this on night vision, because one of the things I really want you to see is how the in-gall performs. And this one little trick that they use that you never thought about. Somebody is gonna ask me right now, why do you have IR and white light and need an off switch? And then right behind that, they're gonna say, hey, you can't have any NDs. Totally get it. But before you go on any mission that you go on, here's what you wanna do. You're gonna go lights. So notice my white light goes on, and I'm choosing white light right now. If I needed IR, I would flip it and choose IR, and then with my night vision, would go IR. So lights. The next one is sights. I'm gonna make sure my sight is powered up. Then it's a good practice just to look down and make sure your blue dots didn't go anywhere. And then the last one is your bullets, your action. So I'm gonna look, make sure, and I'm gonna give it a bump. I like to give it a full bump here too, but you can also use your thumb and push it forward. So lights, sights, action. I want you to think about that every time you pick that gun up. Now, let me address your white light thing. Oh, you can't have a white light ND, blasey, blasey, blah. You're right, you can't. But it depends on your TTPs, okay? Some people's TTP is we are hitting the house totally on night. So there's a certain sector of water swimmer guys that they don't even put lights on a lot of their guns. 100% blacked out the whole time. But I would say most people, and especially cops, you need to use your night vision and your IR laser down the hallways and clear the room on white light. But always after you go through and clear the house, you come back and back clear on white light. So you might be hitting the house on white light. When people are like, NDs are, they're death, you can't have a light ND. That means when I'm walking up to the freaking house, man. It doesn't mean when I'm in the house. When I'm in the house, probably gonna use it. You are faster with it. You don't spend enough time on night vision not to have it. So I know you think everybody hits at night and it's all dark and it's all quiet, but it's not. There's 30 dudes, there's bombs blowing up on both sides of the door, there's flashbangs going in everywhere, the whole freaking neighborhood knows you're there. That's just how it works, guys. You might be quiet till you get there, but you're gonna make a lot of noise whenever you finally hit the target. Hey guys, this is what it looks like if you're not wearing night vision. Couple of things I want to show you with the in-gall. The first one, let's see if we can just turn it on and make it work. I know a lot of people say, hey, we shouldn't put our laser so far back because when we do, we're gonna have scope shadow. Okay, do you guys, there is no shadow. There's no shadow, like, you see how far it is back? There's no shadow, look at that. So this is full power, and the full power flood that you can see, there is no scope shadow, nothing like that. Now, if I reach over and C-clamp this, then yeah, I guess there is shadow on it, but that's not what you're doing because you don't leave this on. So in order to turn the laser on, I'm gonna have it on and my thumb is on the side, which means I never have the shadow that everybody's like, oh my gosh, we get this shadow. Here's the trick I wanted to show you about the in-gall. So this is full power, full power. What you guys probably can't see is that at this, I guess this is probably 25 yards, the laser dot takes up pretty much the entire target. Also, something that I've noticed, it kind of hurts my eyes inside my night vision, and especially if it's close and I'm on a wall. So if you just cover the cap, can you see the difference in that? So this is fully on. I covered the cap, it still shines through the cap. It makes it where shooting this is just way easier to do. The next thing is if I put the cap over like this on the flood side, notice no flood, flood. It still floods the entire room. It just actually floods it better. Look at that. So this is flooded, no flood, flood, lights up everything I can see, even to the sides of me, where if I take the cap off, it puts a more focused flood and it kind of washes it out. So when I have both caps on, I'm not washed out anymore, and I can see everything and it lights up everything. I'm not saying that there's not times, like if you're outside, that you might want to open both, you might want to change your beam. I can change my beam on my flood portion and make it smaller. That's not for trying to shoot this target smaller, that's for trying to shoot way the freak out there. Damien, can you turn and look way out there? All right, that's for trying to shoot out there like 300 or 400 yards, where if you take the beam off, you don't get as much. So that's what it's for. It's also for marking for people. If I want the best out of the in-gall, which is really cool, I just cover both of these and it floods up everything that I need it to flood up perfectly. So that's the trick. I learned that from the Rangers. All right, I did you dirty when I wasn't telling you what the groups were. I was just trying to hold your suspense so you could see them now. Let's take a look at it. So here is my target, all at 100 yards with the Leupold Mark V optic. The first group we shot was SS-109 right here. Look at this. This is a 3.5-inch group with SS-109. All right. This is the Black Hills. The Black Hills was an 1.5 inch group. Black Hills 77 grain, and this thing right here shoots perfect. The A1 rounds right here were a 3-inch group, which is, we talked about that. The Army requires 4 inches. The Tier 1 unit, at least on the Navy side, requires 3 inches. I don't know what the Army requirement is, but so 3 inches. This is acceptable for, SEAL Team 6. So, and then 3.5 inch on the 55 grain junk. So you guys that are trying to say, hey, I want to make a precision shot, maybe I need to make a headshot, maybe I need to make a little further shot, 2, 3, 4, understand the limits of your gun and what it is you're shooting. I don't care which one of these bullets you pick, but understand what your gun's going to do. Okay, guys, what do I think about the URGI? I'm in love with it. I will tell you a couple of things that I like and don't like. If you're using a Surefire 3-prong, the RC2 is usually not hearing safe for me. With the 4-prong, even though I can hear that little twang, it is ear safe. And then everybody that was at the range with us at the 9 Bangers range, they all thought the same thing. In-gall, of course, is amazing. The overall size of the package is amazing. I don't like how much this stock wiggles. The CTR stock typically isn't my favorite, so I'll probably end up replacing this. I'm probably going to cut this piece down just a little bit, the Bravo company. You've seen the guys cut theirs down a lot more. I'm just going to cut a little bit off by the way that it fits my hand. I don't know that I like the placement of the light here. It's not bad. It works what I need it to work, but I feel like it's going to dig in my hand. But it didn't dig in my hand, so I don't know. Love the HRF concepts. I think I'll probably put these on a lot of my rifles now. I like the magwell. I think it actually helps. The bad levers, 50-50, it's up to you. I think it's great to have one on there in case you have a lefty in your group. It's great if you train to that manual of arms, but don't give up the actual manual of arms for this. But overall, the URGI is a go-to-war weapon. Like, I would pick this up. I would defend my life with this. I think it's pretty amazing. So guys, do me a favor, like, subscribe, hit the bell notifications, go underneath, click the links. It helps me out, it helps you out, it helps keep the channel free. See you soon.